Hello and welcome to 20 Lore Pro. We're here today at Charlie's Collectible Show here in Stone Mountain, Georgia for their Lorcana 10K. I'm one of your announcers, SirAshtown. Joining with me today is Hal Brady of Lorcana. How are you doing, Hal?
It's been a good day so far. We've seen a lot of fun decks, a lot of interesting choices. Really fun to see on day one. We saw the Talman Purple with the crazy Ruby Amber locations. But we are on to round 5 now with 2 undefeateds. We've got FRDrake or FRDrake or FRDrake or
Guess what? Let's call him Drake.
Drake, all right. Versus Luca, who we saw win round 1 on Ruby Amethyst, and Drake on the Ruby Sapphire, which I don't think we've seen Ruby Sapphire on stream at all today yet. So this should be a fun matchup. The Ruby Amethyst list is looking to go on the aggressive side and close out the game before Ruby Sapphire can really get things going. But they're going to be looking for that, like we've talked about kind of all day, from the Ruby Amethyst decks, the 1-drop into the Flynn Frenemy, into a Sisu, into a Queen's Castle, just a really strong start against Ruby Sapphire. Unless Ruby Sapphire has made some updates. Maybe Drake has planned some things for that matchup and maybe added some additional cards. We've seen all kinds of non-traditional card choices today that have been working out for people. So just really goes to show how strong and flexible the metagame even still is after that challenge everybody's freaking out about, Bucky and Diablo, which is still a powerful deck in the format, but people are finding other ways to fight back. So
Really great to see Luca back here on the feature match. I know he was saying that he had several great finishes in other high tournaments. So great to see him here again, 4-0. Really great chance to keep going. And here he is leading us off here with a turn 1 Chernabog.
Yep, I mean, that's the start that Luca's going to be looking for. And being on the play is a really big deal in this matchup as well. So we'll see. Drake goes with the 1-drop that he's looking for, the Popsicle.
And over on our second feature match here, we have someone that may be known to y'all due to his finishes on several Lorcana tournaments, Zain Saeed. They haven't quite started yet, but it looks like they are getting their matches set up. Whenever they're ready, we'll go ahead and switch over there, but excited to see Zain Saeed play here for us today on the feature match.
Yeah, it's a really sweet tournament. There's a lot of well-known players in the community that came out to support and just play some Lorcana. Getting ready for, there's the DFW challenge that's coming up in July, and the whole month of July is the next round of set championships. You can go out to your local shops and fight for one of those enchanted Ursulas from the Ursula's Return set. Kind of similar to the Rockstar Stitches that they did last go-around. We have got Luca on a start of turn 1 Chernabog's followers, turn 2 more Chernabog's followers, followed by a turn 3 friends to the other side. Luca's just going to go questing away, go for 3. I imagine still wait a turn or 2 before he starts banishing those for extra cards. Just the lore value is going to be worth way too much than extra cards at this point, and they're not really under any pressure from Drake. So Drake ends up having to brawl one of those followers, which is, man, that's such a huge win for Luca, having to brawl one of the 1-drops instead of saving it for something like Rabbit, or I think Flynn Frenemy is probably the biggest target in this matchup, but at least that's one less card Luca will be able to banish the followers for to get one of those extra cards. But let's see, Luca has got kind of the dream start here. He's still got 2 1-drops in play, slams down a Queen's Castle, and Drake didn't ramp on turn 2 or turn 3, so they are not in Maui territory as of yet. So he's going to ink one of those Maleficent Dragons and goes for how far I'll go. So going for a little bit more setup, but still that Queen's Castle is going to be pretty terrifying on the other side of the board, as Luca can either decide to extend his board and deploy more threats, or maybe just end up sending both of those followers to the Queen's Castle. So Castle's going to gain 2 lore at the beginning of the turn, putting Luca to 8 at the beginning of turn 5. Plays the Rabbit, draws a card. I imagine we will see an ink. I think he's deciding maybe one of these followers ends up getting thrown away for an extra card just to get the lore out of it. May not. So going to quest for 2, going to 10. And then are we going to see something inked here? Yep, Fox going to get inked here. And then one of the followers is going to go to the castle. So interesting decision for the rabbit to not be the choice. And I think that's because Drake's going to be going to 6 and could the rabbit is a bigger option for a Madame Medusa. So the Medusa would definitely be taking out the rabbit, but now he would have to make a decision. But that's not the line that Drake has. He's got an ice block and a Maui. So he's going to use the ice block to shrink the follower's attack power by 1. So Maui will go in and take it out and only take 1 damage back. But this Queen's Castle still running free. Luca goes to 12, readying up for turn 6. So the problem with these plays of Maui not getting to damage the locations is Luca may end up taking out the Maui on his own accord, and then the Queen's Castle is still unscathed and still requires multiple answers on Drake's side. And Luca's getting to that dangerous territory of lore at 13, getting close to where something, like Goat combined with Fox and Snakes, like we've been seeing all the way since Chapter 2, really close out the game. So we see a Snake, it's going to bounce the rabbit, draw some extra cards. We're going to ink a Brawl, exert 4, replay the rabbit, draw another card. So there's no characters exerted for Maui to challenge, and Maui can go into that Queen's Castle, but it's going to leave it with 1 willpower left and won't take it off the board. If he doesn't have an answer, it's going to put Luca to 16, possibly 18, questing with the Snake and the rabbit. Let's see what we've got. We've got another Maui, so that will do it. Double Maui takes care of the castle 100%. But even if Luca decides to quest out with these 2 characters, it's going to be at 16. We're getting really close. Luca draws a Maui of his own. So yeah, Friends of the Other Side, going to sing that with the rabbit. Looks like he drew into a Sisu and that 3-cost Maleficent Sorceress. Snake going in for a lore goes to 15. Plays the Maleficent. And plenty of options, like 2 more Maleficent Sorcerers in their hand. Luca and No, I'm Not opting to run these Maleficent Sorcerers, something we really haven't seen in these more recent Ruby Amethyst lists from Set 4 and Ursula's Return. It's definitely something we saw in Ruby Amethyst from Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and decent amount in Chapter 3, but it looks like, for the most part, people have been opting to not run those in the Set 4 list, but these 2 experts on Ruby Amethyst are putting in their list. It really raises the question, is that something I'd want to be putting in my list? Some of the best Ruby Amethyst players are running it. Why should I not? But Drake has a huge turn. He's got the new legendary Ruby Sisu, and that takes out all characters that have 2 or less attack, but it gets that Snake as well because it's comboed with the Ice Block. It shrinks the Snake by 1. Luca's entire board did have 2 or less attack powers, so Sisu just wiped his entire side of the board. Luca readied up and went with a Fox. And then Drake answers with a Madame Medusa, and now that Sisu questing for 3 a turn, but Luca's at 17. Is Drake going to have enough time to catch up? That is a huge gap in lore, and Luca goes with a Be Prepared as a great line here, just clearing up Drake's entire board, as Luca didn't have any characters of his own, and now he can set to rebuild and try to close out, get those last 3 lure points. So see what Drake's got. He's only got 1 card in hand, drawing up to 2 at the beginning of his turn. Oh, man, I don't even know. Usually Lucky Dime is an all-star in this matchup, but that just seems kind of like the writing's on the wall if that's what you spend your turn doing this turn. But even worse, it's just a 1 jump ahead and pass. So Luca is free to redeploy some more threats, probably just some more cards that draw cards. Well, there's a Goat putting him to 18, followed by a Queen's Castle, Inca Sisu. Luca's at 18 with a Castle. Drake's got 1 card in hand. He's going to need an answer to it immediately. Even if he does, you have to answer the Goat immediately too, and that's going to do it. Luca is going to take game 1 over Drake, and as they shuffle up, let's see if we can switch over to our B match and take a look at Zan Saeed. And he is up against Austin Brittington. And it looks like we have the bad guy mirror match, kind of like we saw a little bit in round 1. We've got the Emerald Steel Bucky Diablo Menace just running amok. Both of them sitting at 3-1 today. We see Zan is at 0 lures, Austin is at 1. It's probably just been kind of a back and forth. In this matchup, especially the mirror, there's not a lot of questing going on. It's going to be a lot of setup. not a lot of combat. If your characters do get exerted, they're usually singing songs. It looks like Zan possibly, well, that Sudden Shell actually probably got discarded to shift that Diablo, but he's got one of the key cards that's so important in the mirror match is that Hidden Cove, but Austin has the Bucky, which Zan does not have a Bucky in play. So it looks like Austin does 1 damage with the Bucky into that Hidden Cove. Both of them have the Diablo in play. Zan's got 2 damage counters on his because of the Hidden Cove. It gets +1/+1, so it is a 3/3 with 2 damage on it. Austin's is clean and fresh, but if they end up in combat, they'll end up trading. So Zan does have a Bucky, but decides to ink it on 3 and has another Diablo, which will be pretty terrifying if it gets a chance to move over to that Hidden Cove.
And having double Diablos like this, a lot of draw power here. Really exciting to see just the power of Diablo and Zain Saeed pilot it. Great to see him play, but also to do it in the mirror. We really get to see how 2 different pilots use this powerful card to try to get a win here in today's Lorcana 10K.
And Zan, being very well known for playing steel decks in general, has had a lot of success on the steel song list in the past. And then more recently, as I've been following, he has been on the Amethyst steel list. And it really says a lot. As he put a lot of work into that Amethyst steel list, that he has decided to just move on to the boogeyman of the format and go with the Emerald steel version with, I mean, it just has the most powerful opening in the game. We've kind of said time and time again, you get the turn 1 Diablo, turn 2 Bucky, and in the same turn shift the new Diablo, so they immediately have to discard for the Floodborn, and then the Diablo is active to sing, challenge, quest, what have you, and start drawing extra cards on the other side of the board. But Austin does have another key card in the mirror match. Flynn Rider, his own biggest fan, can start challenging into some of these. Now, normally that's a great line, but Zan's got the Hidden Cove, so the Flynn could trade with the Diablo that's already got some damage counters on it, but it wouldn't really do much to the one that's untouched. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth trading with the one you can. So he's got Strength of the Raging Fire to deal 2, so you can put 2 on the one Diablo, but
yeah, not even in this case, you can't take it.
So he's got another, he can sing. All right, well, just kind of spreading some damage around, takes out one Diablo, but
you're gonna have to do everything you can to try to take this Cove out. I mean, Cove with Diablo, great way to protect him. And as we see here with Austin, he sees that and is trying to answer it.
Yeah, and this mirror match, as I've seen, it's just a slogging, grueling, just grudge match. Like you see, it's like, we're on turn 5. The lore count is 2-1. It's just a never-ending battle over Hidden Cove, Bucky's, Diablos. But Zan does find a Beast, the Tragic Hero, with Austin only 1 card left, but it does deal 2 damage and draw a card with the Storm Rage on. So, I mean, now Beast is still a problem, though. Now that it's not worried about staying undamaged, it can just start questing away. You can move it to the Cove, so now it's a 4/6. Well, even more with the +4 attack, but that's not really coming into play right now. But at least bumping it to 6 willpower is going to take even more from Austin, as it'll just sit there and start questing away.
Yeah, this Beast is a beast of a challenger. I mean, on the Cove, especially here, and he's still going to be able to quest for 2. I mean, that's very relevant here in this low lore game right now. And we see an Ursula Deceiver here on the Cove. Austin having his own Beast Tragic Hero. Hopefully his can draw, because he's going to need some extra resources in his hand like Zane was able to get with those 2 Diablos that he had out.
Yeah, I mean, this matchup it always comes down to this. It seems like either somebody runs away with the game, because one of the people doesn't have they have a suboptimal draw that just turns into this top deck war. But yeah, Zane does have an answer to that Beast and starts questing away with his Ursula Deceiver of All and his Tragic Beast. Let's see what Austin has. Not a bad top deck. It is a Robin Hood.
That was his top deck. I mean, that's good.
Yeah, it is a Floodborn for Bucky, but we're already in the top deck war, so.
Along came Zeus. What a top deck, too, from Zane. I don't believe he had that in his hand from the Bucky discard.
Yeah, I think he was empty-handed. There's a Bucky of his own.
Talk about the card you need to take out your opponent's beast before he gets draw power in.
Yeah, and with both players of having a Bucky in play, they'll just stay in this top deck lock for the rest of the game until somebody can close it out, because there's no point in keeping a card in your hand, risking having to discard it to the opposing Bucky. So you're either going to ink or play every card you draw pretty much for the rest of the game, unless somehow you start drawing multiple cards. You find another beast, you get a Diablo active. I mean, neither player has an answer to a Diablo now.
Also play risky and just keep it if it's a great card to see if your opponent can draw into a Floodborn or not.
I'm not that lucky. They'll draw a Floodborn. That's way too risky. And yeah, Austin breaking on his top deck gets a sudden chill. Zan, no cards in hand. Might as well just ink it. No reason to hold on to it. And then, deciding what to do with this Robin Hood. It is a little tricky. Oh man, you quest with it, and then Beast just like one-shots it, and then you get to draw a card, and then Bucky probably just makes you discard it. It just feels like a disaster.
And survives with the Cove.
Yeah, exactly, because the Beast will have 6 willpower, so it feels even worse. But on Zan's side, he top decks an Ursula Deceiver. Not really going to do much on that come into play effect. Can go ahead and move it over to the Cove, and now you got another 2/4 on the board, but still nothing looking good enough to quest. Now, Austin does top deck another Strength the Raging Fire, but what can that do? Well, it can't target Bucky, it won't deal enough damage to Beast, or Ursula Deceiver of all, or Ursula Deceiver, because they're all on the Cove and getting an extra willpower. So it actually does nothing. But now, you don't really care to ink to 7. You don't want to hold in your hand and discard it to Bucky. I think you just roll the dice and throw 2 damage somewhere.
Honestly, putting 2 damage now on the Beast makes it where if you do swing at the Cove with your Robin or somewhere later on, the Beast is going to have to challenge and be banished into it.
Yeah, I think if you have to pick one, I think the Beast is just the correct answer. Put 2 more on it, so that way if it gets into a fight with that Robin Hood, at least it will be a trade. But yeah, I mean, there's nowhere else. I just don't think there's any point in putting damage counters anywhere else. And Zam with the Ursula Deceiver of all, too, is terrifying. Like, at some point, he could draw one of his damage cards and just load up that Robin Hood with damage counters.
That's a scary thought. Getting that Ursula Deceiver on your side of the board. I mean, they could let you draw so much depending on what you have.
Austin going with the risky line. He keeps it. He doesn't discard. Oh, but Zan gets the double Let the Storm Rage on, so it doesn't take out the Robin Hood yet, but it deals 4 damage. He gets to draw 2 more cards. But it's a little suboptimal. He does not have a Floodborn. He has another Hidden Cove, which is a little underwhelming, but he did get a Strength of the Raging Fire to finish off the Robin Hood. So that means Austin will not get to draw a card because it did not get banished in a challenge. Just gonna go ahead and play the other Hidden Cove because why not? But now Zin's also free to just start questing away too. You can even quest with your Bucky because it'll be a 2/2. It's not in danger of anything. So now you're starting to go for 4 lore a turn. You're already ahead in the lore race. No reason not to.
Well, with this match now having 2 Coves, we see the Beast, see the Ursula Deceiver of all and Deceiver. Really is going to be tough for Austin, I think, to come all the way with the board presence as it is. We'll head back over to our first game of round 5. See how they're doing over here. Luca looked like he got game 1. Was able to use those 3 Chernobyls in the beginning of game 1.
Not surprised, but now let's look at this board state. Drake's got 3 Popsicles, an Ice Block, and a Tamatoa in play, and Luca's just got this Madame Medusa, and at this point in the game, Luca only has 6 lore. This is the point in the game where Luca wants to be at a very, very high amount of lore to where you can try to run away and steal the game. Now, doesn't mean he's out. I mean, we see his hand. He's got like 8 cards in hand, so he's probably fine. And look, Madame Medusa singing Be King Undisputed, getting rid of that Tamatoa. Rabbit to come in to draw a card. Here comes a castle. I'll eat my words. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It looks like Luca's probably still running away with this game. This is crazy. So Drake tapping 9. There's a Maleficent Dragon. First one of those we've seen of the weekend. Decides to take out the rabbit with it. It's a tough choice because either one of those can get bounced back for additional value. And I guess Drake decides that the Madame Medusa is not as scary as the rabbit drawing cards. And that makes sense because Medusa doesn't hit as many things in this matchup, especially at this point in the game. It's not going to hit anything like Maleficent or Tamatoa. It's really I mean, it could hit like a Flavor Sham, but we're already so late in the game that your big monsters aren't really threatened by the Medusa, so.
We see this Queen's Castle over here, which probably is a great target for that Maleficent Dragon to challenge into.
Yeah.
We're also getting word from our producer that Zane did get game 1 over in feature match 2. That Maleficent could probably eat up this castle pretty well.
Yeah, that's if Luca doesn't have an answer. I mean, he may have another Beat King Undisputed. We do see a Be Prepared in hand. Don't know if that's the way that Luca wants to go. It looks like he's just going to deploy another rabbit. Goes for a snake.
Or Lady Tremaine would be great.
Lady Tremaine would be really solid. Yep, starts just looping the rabbit over and over. I think he's got 2 more Queen's Castles in his hand. And going for a Maleficent Sorceress, just keeping that hand fully stocked up with threats. And Madame Medusa's going in for 1 lore. Pretty safe to quest. Drake's almost definitely going to take out that castle with the dragon, so the Medusa's not really any danger from the dragon. At least he could be facing down a Maui as well. And yeah, Luca just doing Ruby Amethyst things, just finding ways to control the board, passively gain lore, and keep your hand as full as possible every turn. And it's got double the amount of lore that Drake currently has. So we see the dragon does take out the Queen's Castle, goes with the Tamatoa, gets back a Popsicle, draws another card. But I did see in Luca's hand that he does have a Be Prepared. So I would be shocked if that wasn't the line this turn, especially when he's got like 2 or 3 Queen's Castles in hand. He could just quest out, go to 13, play Be Prepared, and actually 6, 7. No, he'd be 1 short of being able to follow up with a Queen's Castle. But if he has another 3-drop, another Maleficent Sorceress or something like that, I see a Chernobog's Followers. Worst case scenario, you could just throw out a Chernobog's Followers.
And honestly, in this board state, those are 2 cards I don't want to see. And so Be Prepared is probably a great answer right here.
Well, Luca opts not to. Maybe he's going to try to draw out a few more threats from Drake, which I don't hate that. We'll go with another rabbit, and then we're going for 5. We'll go with the Maui, which trades with the dragon, and then Madame Medusa sings the Beat King Undisputed. So Luca decides that he wants to use his spot removal instead and keep his board going, questing all the way up to 12, and then save that. Be prepared for a get out of jail free card later if he ends up in a tight spot.
Honestly, keeping your opponent clear of characters while still maintaining some of yours, still a great spot to be in. I mean, getting able to quest, you have a rabbit now on board. If it gets banished to something, perfectly happy with it. This Madame Medusa, great bounce target. Depending on what we're going to see here from Drake, his own Be Prepared.
Yeah, which is actually the worst case scenario for Drake. Luca's probably just super happy with that. Drake ended up not adding to his board pretty much at all and having to Be Prepared himself, because now he can just slam like 2 Queen's Castles. So we see a goat too. We may end up going with that. But there's 1 castle, there's 2 castles, there's a Chernobog's Followers. Luca's at 12. This is asking a lot for Drake to answer.
Talk about one of, if not the best follow-up plays from a Be Prepared. Not 1, but 2 Queen's Castles.
Yeah, really tight play. Luca, really smart for not deploying his own Be Prepared there. Just having all the threats in play, knowing that he's got this handful of Queen's Castles. So Drake either doesn't have an answer for the board and you can run away with it, or he does have to tap out for the Be Prepared, and then you just slam these 2 Queen's Castles. And yeah, I mean, he's fishing here. How far I'll go is not exactly what you want to do here, but you got to find something. I don't even know. I mean, Maui is not enough. It's not going to take out either of these castles. Luke is almost assuredly going to go to 16 this turn.
Drake here with so much ink, too. Just having the ability really to play whatever he can find.
Finds a Madame Medusa for the Followers, so at least the Followers isn't going to draw him another card, but +4 goes to 16. I've already seen a goat in Luca's hand, so he is virtually at 17 or pretty much 18. If he finds a bounce effect, the game is pretty much over. And he's just Lucas just goes for a be prepared because a Maui isn't going to do it either. I mean, I don't think he would need like multiple Mauis, and I don't think he's going to be able to touch either of these Queen's Castles this turn. So that's going to do it. Luca takes the match 2-3.
There's Luca with the win. Congratulations to Luca. Here we are in our second feature match here. Zane Saeed piloting Emerald Steel, facing a mirror match against Austin, also piloting Emerald Steel.
Yeah, and we saw Zan take away game one, and it kind of just how the mirror matches go. It's just a kind of a slugfest. They're both players run out of cards pretty quickly, and it's just a top deck war. That doesn't mean it's all just about the top decks. You do have to play really tight and play to your outs. You need to set up board states where you're going to have the maximum amount of cards that'll be valuable if you do happen to top deck them. So it's not just all about the luck of the draw off the top. It's about setting yourself up for success in the mirror. But yeah, it looks like Zan's got a lot of cards in hand. It looks like it's pretty early in the game. It's like his turn, going into his turn 3, but both players sitting there with that Bucky in play. It looks like Zan has the option. He could go for a second Bucky. He could go for an Ursula Deceiver of All. He could go for a Diablo. He could go for an Ursula Deceiver. A lot of options. We see also that Steel Magic Broom that's a 2/3 from the new set. Can quest for 1, but it can challenge evasive characters on your turn. Just a really, really nice answer for opposing Diablos. As it being a 2/3, it won't get taken out by the Storm Rage on, but Strength of the Raging Fire potentially could take it out, but it's just a nice answer to have on like turn 2. As your opponent has like that quick Diablo shift line. So Zan decides to go with the Ursula Deceiver of All. And yeah, then we see the Magic Broom Aerial Cleaner. I really like this card. It's definitely been adding it into my Steel Sapphire list, and not surprised to see it at a Zane Seed's Emerald Steel list as well. Just you want as many ways to get opposing Diablos off the field and keep yours in play. Then we also see Zane's discard has a Grab Your Swords, which is it's kind of one of those on the fence controversial cards for Emerald Steel. A lot of players are they're very against it, and then some are like, well, I really need it for the mirror match. I know the rat who took down Chicago was not running any of his. He was kind of like, I just hope to outplay the mirror match and not have all the tech cards because they're not as good against these other big Sapphire decks. They don't really do a whole lot. But even in those matchups, don't forget, you can always just pitch it to your Diablo shift line too if it's not going to be something that you need. But it's, without a doubt, a very, very powerful card going into the mirror. So we see Austin has the Jafar Dreadnought, triggering the Bucky, and Zane just goes ahead and pitches that Magic Broom because there's no Diablos in sight. So not really no use for it.
Excited to see how this Ursula Deceiver of All gets used here by Zane. I wonder if he could possibly sing something. We'll see what he has in hand. But there is a Diablo. Nothing sung quite yet. That Jafar Dreadnought really presenting a great threat to try to eat something up and then draw.
Yeah, so Austin deciding what to discard from Zane's Floodborn Bucky trigger. Only 2 cards left, so got to be real picky here. And it's a Diablo. Right, Zane inks a lad, nothing to do with the Ursula Deceiver of All. And that's pretty crazy to me that Austin decided to pitch the Diablo. What is that other card in his hand?
I wonder, so last turn he decided to play Jafar over Diablo.
Has the Strength of the Raging Fire for the opposing Diablo. 1 card left in hand. Dangerous number of cards down in your hand against an opposing Bucky. It just may not be inkable. If it were me, I would want to just go to 5 ink so I have the maximum amount of top decks that I could potentially play, like a Tragic Beast and what have you. But the Bucky lists do play a decent number of non-inkables, so it could be a non-inkable or it could be something that Austin's really crossing his fingers and hoping it gets to hold on to for one more turn.
And now we're kind of like what we saw in game 1 between these two competitors. They're kind of at the top deck. They both have Buckies on board. They're both causing each other to discard. You might as well ink or play whatever it is that you have and try to get your board state up.
Yeah, so Zane inks his 1-drop Diablo. Austin gets to keep that last card in his hand. Hope it's a good one. maybe have an answer for this Ursula Deceiver of All, because that's the Deceiver of All is just one of those cards that let's get it out. Let me get it out of my hand. If my opponent's answering my Diablos instead and they have to leave this around, this really helps me in the top deck wars, because any song you top deck just gets doubled by that and could be a nightmare. But Austin has the hidden cove, moves everybody in there, and now he can start questing away as his characters get +1 attack and +1 willpower.
Oh, the Hidden Cove really being great tech, especially here in the mirror.
Zane plays an Ursula Deceiver, and Austin showing him the last card in his hand. Looks like he's been holding on to. It is the champion of Sherwood, Robin Hood. Austin just been holding on, trying to get one more inkable so he can put it into play. He draws another one. So inks one, plays one. Zane with no cards in hand. Bucky's not doing much, but see what this Hidden Cove's allowing Austin to do is quest with all of his characters that he wants, and Zane can't really do much back, and that Dreadnought just threatens challenging and getting to draw Austin more cards as well. It's really putting a hamper on Zane's plan, but there's a Tragic Beast hero. Austin drawing off the top. See if he can find an answer. That might have been a Steel Song. It is not. It's an Aladdin.
That beast right now is going to serve Zane pretty well here.
He's going to have to find something quick, though.
Is that everything on Cove? Is that
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Everybody's in the house. Everybody's in the house. Yeah.
They all like that Hidden Cove.
Yeah, they're hiding as well as they possibly can. And, questing for 4, putting Austin to 9. So Zane gets to draw 2 cards for the turn.
Oh, look here. What movie is Hidden Cove from?
Well, it's got Arial quotes on it. So I guess it'd be a Little Mermaid.
They're all joining the Arial universe here.
All right, so Zane getting to draw 2 for the turn. Let's see if he finds anything that can affect this board. Any song could potentially be well, other than Sudden Chill. You'd really want one of the steel damage songs for Ursula to double sing. Maybe a Shift Robin Hood of your own. Even that doesn't really affect it too much. That Hidden Cove is buffing up all of Austin's characters. With Ursula's got 4 willpower. Dreadnought has 5. And he does find the Robin Hood. Does decide to shift it. No, he doesn't shift it. Okay, I was about to say, I was like, why would he shift it? He's not doing anything with it this turn. But that makes sense. He's gonna use 5 ink, put that Sherwood into play, and see what Austin finds for the turn. Everything in the Cove. Would probably love to just find anything to turn off Zan's Beast at this point and just keep questing another Bucky.
Or Bucky, yeah.
Joining everybody in the Cove party.
Honestly, if Zane's playing in his list strength quite a bit on this side of the board, double seeing with Ursula might be really good.
Yeah, even with Hidden Cove, like double strength of Raging Fire would be pretty devastating. Austin's done waiting around. He's questing with the whole team, Bucky included. Doesn't care. He's got a backup Bucky. Both players, again, playing off the top, don't really need double Bucky. So let's see. Zane draws 2 off of the Beast and for the turn. See what he finds. This Deceiver of All has been sitting around for almost the entire game and has yet to get to double sing anything.
Zane over here stacking up characters because that's what it's going to take to challenge any of these Hidden Cove protected characters.
Yeah, and Austin's at 15. He's saying you need to have something right now or we're going to game 3.
Also, Dash Cable in the chat letting us know that Hidden Cove is an original card to Lorcana. Thanks for that update. We appreciate the shout out on that.
That makes sense. I was like, I don't remember seeing that in the Little Mermaid, but that's cool that it's a Ariel flavored card, but it's not actually from the movie. It's pretty neat. All right, Zan's had enough. He's had enough of that Hidden Cove. Party's over. Come out. I want you all outside where I can see what he has. He has it.
Goodness.
Double String of the Raging Fire, sung by Ursula Deceiver of All, takes out the 2 biggest threats on the board, the Dreadnought and the Champion of Sherwood. But is that going to be enough? Austin is still at 15. Takes out the Bucky.
What a relevant.
Takes out the Aladdin.
Oh my goodness. Even with double drawing with Beast, that's such a great draw.
Yep, that is exactly the cards that Zane needed. He needed exactly that to get back into this. Austin's at 15. Can only go up to 17. There's not a lot of big high lore questers in this matchup. And I don't know Austin's list. He could be playing something like Flynn, his own biggest fan, and that could be a huge, huge top deck to potentially close this game out on his side. Doesn't look like that's what he's got, though. It's another Bucky. So it goes to 17. Just offering those up to be freely banished from a challenge. Pretty unfortunate because that Robin Hood gets to banish and still gain the 2 lore, so you're not even losing any tempo there. Beast unchecked. It's looking pretty grim for Austin. He's going to probably have another turn or two because Zan's still behind in the lore race. Yeah, that Champion of Sherwood just getting to banish something for free and still gain the 2 lore. Ursula just eating Bucky's for lunch at this point.
Just that turn with Hidden Cove, Austin deciding to quest everything, looked very great.
I mean, it was a 1-turn clock.
Yes.
Zane had to have it right then.
It really looked like a great decision to do that. And Zane just drawing 2 cards into the Strength of Electric Fire. I just can't fault Austin for making the decision that he did in order to try to get ahead.
Well, and the card that I mentioned that Austin could potentially top deck to close the game out is the card that Zane draws, and that is the own biggest fan, Flynn, and Austin's had enough. He's like, all right, you know what? That's going to do it. So Zane said he's going to take the match down 2-0, and that's going to do it with us in the booth for round 5. See if we can potentially get an interview in, and we will be right back. All right, we are back at the Charlie's Collectible Show 10K after round 5. Round 5 now? Okay. I'm here with Zan Saeed, winner of this round, piloting the Emerald Steel, kind of the bad guy deck of the format. Yeah. I've been following your Discord and your decks, man, and I saw that for the most part recently you've been on the Amethyst Steel list. What made you decide to jump over to the Emerald Steel?
I mean, Emerald Steel is the best deck. It's the boogeyman of the format. Honestly, they have to ban Diablo. They have to ban. It's too good.
I don't disagree. I do a lot of deck brewing. I love building new decks, especially in Lorcana. And it's just puts such a stranglehold on any innovating in the format whatsoever. So is that your plan? Just play it until they ban it? Just prove the point?
Yeah, there's no innovating until it's gone.
Don't disagree. So you're X and 1 now going into round 6.
Yep.
All right. Well, any crazy innovations in your list or anything different about your Emerald Steel version?
Not really. You can also kind of guess what I lost to Emerald Steel.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, we saw at least one grab your swords. Are you just running the one or you have 2? Okay. And do you feel you just play that because it's good in the mirror match, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I would say the card that I'm playing that's the most different is the 2-mana broom. That's a 2/3.
Yeah, we talked about that during
is
that.
Is that Aerial something?
Aerial Cleanser. Yeah,
Aerial
Cleanser. Magic Broom. Yep.
I would say that basically the only bad matchup for this deck is the mirror match. So
you might as well tech for it. That makes sense. I mean, the deck definitely has the most busted opening in the game. Diablo's bad, folks. We'll see what we can do. All right, well, good luck to you in the rest of the rounds. Hope you see you succeeding throughout the rest of the day.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.